Today, I actually want to start standing. I feel like my classes the last few days have maybe been a little different, kind of in the light of what's going on, sort of capturing that in our movement and in our bodies and in our experiences, the ability to sort of listen and sort of feel our emotions in our bodies and that somatic connection of how things lie in our bodies, stick in our stuck there. And that's an important part of the work that I do as a physical therapist, especially with things with like cranial sacral and somatic movement stuff that falls under things like Feldenkrais, even how I approach yoga and my methods towards yoga. So I'd like to begin today a little different. Normally, a lot of my work is down towards the ground, really slow sensing, and we'll get there today for sure. But I'm kind of feeling the need to actually stand up and move a little bit to begin. So hope everyone's on board with that. We'll just do a 5-minute warm-up type exercise. And today we're going to work on the lumbar spine. And when we think about the spine, there are 6 movements of the spine. And I want to liberate the low back and free that lumbar spine. I want us to think about the movements in all directions. And a lot of times I'll take the more myofascial approach and muscular approach and say we're working on this muscle. But today I want to just start by moving through all of those planes. So I'll first show you, and then we'll do it together. I'll just show you the movements. So, good, you can see me. To begin, the first direction of movement is forward and backward movement. So forward movement would be flexion. Backward movement would be extension, and that's in one direction. Then we have side to side movement. So side bending to one side, or we call it in more anatomical terms, lateral flexion, bending one way, side bending another. And that's another plane of movement. And then the last plane of movement, rotating one way and then rotating the other. And that would be the transverse or rotational plane. So in order to have a healthy spine, whether it's low back, neck, thoracic spine, we need movement in all of those planes. So we need to free up those motions. So stand on up, because we're going to do a little bit of movement on each of those planes together. And you can do this as softly or as vigorously as you want. And when we talk about fascial health and myofascial health, a lot of that is about being able to be resilient. And a lot of it's about absorbing shock. So we want to be able to keep our bodies soft. So first, just do a little bouncing and just kind of feel elasticity and fluidness of the body. So I'm doing this just so that you can get out of that like stiff, guarded posture. And especially now, I think a lot of us are kind of in this guarded and protective phase, considering this months of COVID and now riots and a lot of talk about racism and racial injustice. We're all trying to process these things. So just soften it and allow whatever to come. Okay? And so just important to keep the body soft. And now keeping the body soft, we're going to start rotating. You're just going to swing. I like to think of it as like a little kid's spinning top. Yeah, perfect. Just swing. And you can then even use your hands to kind of mobilize the back, like where it feels tight or stiff, you can give a little hit. In Tai Chi, this is more of a Tai Chi type action. They'll call it tapping on the doors of life, because the kidneys right here in the low back are those doors of life. So maybe take out the back of your fist to that area as you twist. And same thing, really loose through the whole body. And then add the breath to it. So wringing yourself out with an exhale with each twist. And you may change the speed. If you feel like you got to shake something out, speed it up a little bit. If this slow speed feels good, keep it slow. Just listen to your body. This work is about listening and knowing your body better and being able to meet it right where it is. And then start to slow down wherever you are so that you just get this sort of gentle rocking, like a dancing from side to side, letting that wave of movement slow. And then just arrive back in stillness and just feel the difference. Feel the energetics of the work that we just did. How there might be this sort of tingling throughout the body, maybe a sense of more lightness in the body as we kind of awaken our awareness of where we are in space. And most of the time we end up injuring our low back, it's because there's a loss of or a lack of knowledge and understanding of where our body is in space, or the sense of proprioception. So let all of that just settle and come back. Come back to just feeling your feet stand on the floor, feeling grounded and stable. And now let's go to the second plane of motion. That second plane of motion will be going side to side. So we'll just lean to one side. And I like to think of it like a monkey. You kind of pull your hand up towards your elbow to lengthen one side and compress the other. And then to the other side. And keep your knees soft so that you can absorb the shock and change of force in the body. And again, I like to sync it to my breath. Letting the head go with it. And then we can speed it up if it feels right. Knees soft, body soft, swaying side to side, letting the head go. Doing it as fast or slow as feels right in your body. There's no perfect way, only listening to what feels right for you so I can change the pace as long as I connect the sense of breath to the mobility that I'm doing. Maybe 2 more times each side, slowing it down. Last time. And then come back to stillness and just feel then that balance from side to side. Now there's this kind of swaying of side to side, movement crossing the energy to the left and then to the right, balancing the hemispheres of the body. Maybe even close your eyes, reconnect to the sense of your feet on the floor, soften your knees, soften your shoulders, and just let your breath come back to normal. And so we did 2 of the planes. We did the side to side plane and we did the rotational plane. And then here's the last one. This is my favorite. I'm going to give a little disclaimer. Be careful with this because we will exhale and fold forward. So I don't want you to be too forceful with the back. But it's going to look like this. It's going to be 3 inhales. It's going to be inhale, 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 sipping up a little bit more air each time so that we expand our capacity to take in. So it's going to be, and then we're going to, and fold forward. And if I turn to the side, as I fold forward, I'm letting my knees bend deeply so my chest rests towards my thighs. Because I definitely don't want to bend forward with straight legs and straight back. That's how I put strain in the low back. And to open the low back, we want to soften the knees and feel the low back roll forward, letting yourself hang heavy. Okay? So we'll start slow, be really gentle, and then we'll build up to whatever feels comfortable and tolerable for you. Listen to your own body. So it's going to look like this. Soft knees. Way up overhead. Let it all out. One more time. Inhale, Inhale and exhale. Just let yourself hang forward for a minute. Soft knees. Let your chest rest on your thighs. Hands can come to the feet, come to the floor, and maybe just sway side to side, letting go of anything you're holding on to. Take a few big breaths out the mouth. Using this position of being inverted to help reset the diaphragm. As you exhale, you want the diaphragm to move up towards the head. One more breath. And then let your hands walk up your thighs, coming all the way back up. And then just reassessing that standing posture. Feet distance, knees soft, maybe just a couple of bounces to soften the body again. And then just feel that vibration, that tingling, that sense of awareness and aliveness moving through the whole body. Noticing how you feel now versus when we started. Feeling the body awake and alert and a sense of vibrancy and awareness of where the body is in space. And reconnecting to that sense of where the body is going to help you move better and let things move through you. This softness, but kind of active and alertness. Because if we're tight or rigid through our joints, through our back, we won't be able to take in any shock, any absorption, any force. So moving in this free way will help our bodies be able to be more resilient to that. So I wanted to start in that way to create a little energizing. And now I want to come onto our backs to start. So come onto your back. And we're going to, I'm going to use a ball here. I'm going to use the alpha ball. I want to get right into that space in the low back a little bit. Another thing that you could use, which yesterday I did a class and we only used the blanket. You could actually use the blanket in your side here if you don't have a ball about this size. And let me just show you that so that everybody has the chance to integrate it a little bit. And I want this blanket, and I'm specifically not using a foam roller because I find the foam roller too big and hard. I'm going to put this blanket kind of like partially under my back so that it kind of comes in that space like between the side and between the edge. So it's like halfway in my low back. And what we're going to do is we're going to just get a little rotation over the blanket. And I'm going to replace it with the ball. But if you don't have the ball, you can do it with the blanket. So I really want to give you that option because it will give you a very similar effect of just mobilizing through that space between the rib cage and the lumbar spine. So here's my ball. If I'm using the ball, it's sticking out about halfway. And then I'm bringing my feet wide. Feet about as wide as the mat, wider than the hips. And I'm going to push, my ball's on the right. So I'm going to specifically push through the left foot. And I'm going to straighten out the front of the left hip as I roll onto the ball. And then I'm going to unroll back. And then I'm going to roll onto the ball, pushing through my left foot. I'm lengthening through the left side body and getting a little compression through the right side body. And I'm just moving from the waist down. My ribs are both staying on the floor. And I even start to feel a little glute activation with the repetition of the twist on my left side. And the glutes are just so essential for our spinal health. They're the thickest muscles in our body. They really keep us upright. So feel that left glute activate as you rotate towards the right. coming back to the breath over and over again. And you can do this without any prop. This could just be done with just the knees rocking side to side. And now in the next repetition, I'm going to let the knees go over to the right and let both knees actually fall to the floor on the right. So now my left arm is still on the, both arms are still on the floor, both shoulders are still on the floor. And now my right hip is on the floor, on the outside of the hip. But my left hip is lifting, pulling towards the right side. You may even start to feel a little lengthening and stretch in the left hip flexor, left quad, down in towards the left knee. And you'll feel a bit of compression in that space on the right low back. So feel those opposites of sensation, the lengthening on the left, compression on the right, breathing into both of them, noticing what feels most present, observing if there's any protection, any bracing, any guarding in the body. And then maybe even rolling the upper body now to your side. And so that you're lying right over that blanket or right over that ball now. The top leg may actually even straighten and the top arm may even straighten. You could even use your bottom to pull the top arm. So now there's this lengthening over the ball or over the rolled up top blanket. Breathing in into the abdomen now, into that low back area. When I think of the low back, I think of the space, pelvis, and the rib cage, that whole circumference. Pausing in the stillness, letting go of the efforting now, and just see if you can allow yourself to fall into the floor and into the prop. Letting the body be heavy, sensing your weight on the floor. And then bring the top knee to meet the bottom knee. So now you're sitting like you're sitting in a chair, but lying on your side. And we just did this rotational motion. Now we'll change and come to the forward and back motion. So ball is still here or blanket is still here. And now we're going to move the pelvis, tipping the pelvis forward so that you arch the back and tipping the pelvis back so that you lengthen the back. So creating a pelvic tilt so that it's almost like you're doing a cat and cow action on your side. You can start with just the pelvis. And then you may start to move the whole spine through that arching and rounding, that opening and closing, expansion, contraction, tossing this prop into your side waist, freeing up the pelvis from the rib cage. And then pausing, letting go of any activity, feeling that energy of the work start to subside, and then just listening to what the body's saying right now. Allow the body to rest on the earth, letting go of any efforting. Notice as you stop the movement, if there's anywhere you're holding on to. Are you clenching in the jaw or the shoulders or the glutes? Are you holding the body up versus allowing yourself to rest into the support? Just observing, bringing awareness to that movement and sort of as well as that resting tension of the body. Giving yourself a moment to soften, to let go completely and feel supported by the floor. And then as you're ready, just roll back onto your back. You can stay right where you are, but just because we went onto the side, I'm going to spin around so that I'm continuing to move towards you. And as you arrive back onto your back, take your prop out for a moment and just let your legs both come down. And notice now how it feels on the left side versus the right side of your body. Maybe even take your hands under your low back and notice if you feel a difference in the space between your low back and the floor. The side that we were just on probably feels like it comes a little closer to the floor. So you've softened and eased that low back so that it can melt into the support. And now let's go to the other side. So moving your blanket or your ball over to the left side of the body, letting it fill that space between the pelvis and the rib cage. Separate your feet so they're just wider than hip distance, about the width of the mat. And then start to press through the right foot as you rotate onto the outside of the left hip. First, just rotating and then coming back to center. Push through the right. Feel the right hip extend, the right glute engage. About 5 or so more rotations. And remember, you can do this without any prop at all, just lying on your back, rotating the knees. And then last time, settling into that rotation, feeling the right foot push you over to the left so that you get a lengthening through the front of the right hip and then a grounding on the outside of the left hip. Your blanket should be filling that space in the side body, and the ball should be right around at the seam of the side body as you roll the lower body to the left, but keep your upper body, so rib cage, shoulders, attached to the ground. Pause here, breathing into the circumference of the low back. Feeling the expansion 360 degrees around in that space between the pelvis and the rib cage. Letting your left low back sink as it's compressed, feeling like it's taking out the stretch of a rubber band. So as we compress that side, allowing any efforting, straining, working to come out of the left side of the low back, melting it into the prop. And then now roll onto your side, keeping your prop right along that side seam of the body, stretching the top side of the body really long, maybe even taking your bottom hand under your head and using the bottom hand to pull the top arm up so that you feel a lot of length through the top side of the body. Coming back to the breath. Reaching through your right heel and your right fingertips. And then bringing both of your knees to be bent out in front of you like you're sitting in a chair, and starting to get that ball or that blanket to move even deeper into that space between the bony pelvis and the bony rib cage by getting a tuck and a wagging of the tail. Maybe even moving into a sense of cat and cow, moving the whole spine, making that motion a little bit bigger, feeling the sense of spinal freedom, letting the tailbone be the driver for the motion. And again, prop or no prop, you can do this. Meet yourself exactly where you are right now. And maybe you just even find a point of stillness that says, I need to be right here. What I need right now is stillness, grounding, a sense of letting go versus a sense of moving. So take that moment to decide what your body needs right now in this moment. Spending about 5 or so more breaths here. And then if you're still moving, finding stillness, allowing the body to fall into the floor. So feel the weight where the body and the floor meet. Noticing if after doing this movement, if there's any continued contraction in the body that hasn't softened. Is it the jaw, the eyes, the mouth, the shoulders, the abdomen, the glutes, maybe even the legs? Notice where in your body you're still working, you're still efforting. And notice if you can just allow yourself to lean into the support of the floor beneath you, feeling all the places where your body and the floor meet, feeling a sense of support. And then rotate back onto your back. Allow all of the props to come out. Let the legs rest flat on the floor. And then just feel the difference. Observe the change of how the back drops into the floor. Maybe you take your hands again to the low back and notice if there's a difference, if the low back is flatter now on the floor. And so we covered a little bit of rotation there, as well as flexion and extension. And now, and even a little side bend as we reach the arm up overhead. And I want to continue to move into that side bend. So walk both of your feet over to the left side of your mat so that you start to make this kind of hat-like crescent moon shape. And then reaching your arms up overhead, Walk your hands also over, trying to stay on your back. You may even take your left hand and hold the right wrist. And I want you to think about reaching the right heel and the right fingertips away from one another. And we're using the floor to support us as we do this. And I just want you to use your breath to breathe into the right side of the body. And as you come into this new shape, notice what happens in the tone of the body, in the sense of efforting. Do you tighten somewhere? Can you let go of that efforting? Keeping your whole body supported on the earth. Allow your body to feel a sense of safety and security and support so that you can move into this new shape. Feeling the inhale come up from the toes all the way to the fingertips on the right. And then flow back down, fingertips to toes on the exhale. Inhaling up through the foot all the way to the fingertips on the right. Exhaling all the way back down. Take 3 more breaths here. Letting go into ease and support as much as possible. Feeling the breath flood the whole right side of the body. Allowing the energetics of the breath, that vitality of the breath, to move through the whole right side. Increasing that sense of awareness of where your body is in space. Proprioception, movement through energetic meridians. Lengthening the myofascial system. And then come back to center. Reach through both feet and through both hands and just feel the difference on each side. And then now start to walk the feet over to the right side of the mat, off the right side of the mat, so that you start to create moon shape. Arms overhead, also reach towards the right. The left hand may even pull just gently on the right wrist. Even let your right ear fall towards your right shoulder. And then feel the lengthening on the entire left side of the body. Breathe into the entire left side of the body, observing where you feel it, observing if you're meeting that sensation or if you're fighting against it. If you start to effort against it, try to avert it, try to make it go away, you'll notice you tighten more. So find a place in this motion where it's sustainable, where you can meet it and welcome it, and send your breath and awareness there. And then feel the energetics of the breath come in through the bottom of the foot, come all the way up the left side of the body. And then exhaling from the left fingertips back down towards the foot. Feeling that rising, that filling up the entire left side of the body as you inhale. And the receding with the exhale. Moving along this entire shape, half moon shape. Noticing if you're doing any efforting. Where in the body are you bracing or guarding? If so, can you allow the body to feel supported there? To lean into the support of the floor? To do only as little as necessary. Take another 2 breaths, maybe exhaling through the mouth. And then coming back to center. And just letting the body, maybe first reaching long through both hands now and feeling more balance between left and right sides. And then just allowing yourself to rest completely at ease on your back. Feeling your body, whole body alive and alert. Feeling your toes, feeling your fingers, feeling where the body touches the earth, feeling where the air touches the skin, reconnecting to the sensations of the body. And then as you're ready, roll onto your belly. Take with you now either your blanket, or if you have it, a Courgeous ball. And we're gonna come into a little bit of a supported back bend. So since I know everyone has a blanket, I'll stick with the blanket, but please use your Courgeous ball if you have it. So first, come onto your belly, taking the blanket or the Courgeous ball right into the pelvis. So above the pubic bone, and come up onto your elbows. And as you arrive on your elbows, reach one heel back. So curl the toes under and then reach away through that heel and then put the foot back on the floor. And then reach away through the other heel, put the foot on the floor, and see how that allows the blanket to move in a little bit deeper. And now here we're getting into the hip flexors, the gut or the viscera, so the small intestine, the large intestine, even the reproductive organs and the bladder. So all of that stuff lies down here. And they say that 80% of low back pain has a visceral component to it. So we're just coming into that viscera as well as those hip flexors. And I want you to take several deep belly breaths. And as you breathe in, feel the expansion of the belly into the prop. And the resistance of that prop is going to send the breath into the low back. So it's going to make the breath flood the low back, bringing more awareness there. And this is one of the first movements we tend to lose in our spine because we do so much sitting and because everything, all of our sense organs are directing us forward. And then contracting into that fetal position is a position of protection. So whenever we have any trauma and emotional or physical or any discomfort or disturbance, we tend to come into that little ball. So the hip flexors get tight. And so as we begin to integrate those things, different stages of life, elements of life, evolve in our bodies, we start to become more able to extend, more able to open. So maybe you find that as you just pause there, you have a little bit more space and may even be able to push up onto the tripod of your hands. Continue to breathe around the full circumference of the low back. And so moving into this back extension can also bring up fear. So if you're feeling any resistance or fear, come to a place where you can feel safe and supported. And then allow yourself just to go one step at a time with kindness and curiosity, exploring this lumbar extension or this back extension. Because as we move into this and regain this motion, this action can actually be energizing. It compresses and stimulates the kidneys. Like I said, the first thing we did was kidney stimulating, tapping on the doors of life. In our kidneys, that's where they say like our essential life and vitality and sort of endurance for living lie. So we can create more compression here to stimulate the kidneys. And notice what's arising. Maybe there is a sense of fear or trepidation. See if you can meet that and soften. Or there might be a sense of vulnerability, of opening the heart and the chest forward. Let that be there. Continue to bring the awareness back into the felt sense in the body. Where in your body are you feeling it now? Take about 4 more breaths. With each exhale, sinking a little bit more into your blanket or gorgeous ball. Letting the pelvis be heavy. With each inhale, breathing into the low back, continuing to feel spaciousness in the low back, even though you're extending. Exhaling this last time through the mouth. Sighing it out. And then bringing it back towards the floor. As you come to the floor to find balance in the pelvis, maybe you even rock the hips side to side a few times. Feeling that vibration, that pulsation, that maybe heat or flushing move through the body. Integrating what we just did. And then we have one more thing to do today. No rolling. This is actually going to be a core activation. And so you will need to put your legs up on something. So I'm going to put them on the wall. If you have a chair nearby, they can go onto a chair. But I want to get a little a belly or core integration here so that we create some internal strength and stability now. We just moved through all the different planes, opened up this body, but now we have to stabilize it through this new range. And we're going to do a really simple version of stabilization. So if your legs are up on a chair or a couch or the bed, that's great. Legs could also be on the wall. I'm going to take, you can take your blanket. I'm going to take this ball between my knees, which again, the prop isn't even necessary. It just gives a little added external support. And I'm going to push my feet into the wall. And without moving the feet, I'm just going to kind of give a little downward drag of the heels to engage the hamstrings, engage the glutes, and engage the low belly. So relax and do that again with me. Push the heels down. Feel how that scoops the tailbone, engages the hamstrings and the glute muscles. And now the low back is on the floor, but the tailbone is hovering a bit. Now take both hands, pull the shoulder blades up towards the ears, and then now press the shoulder blades towards the hips, and feel as you push the shoulder blades towards the hips, you push the heel of your hands into your knees. And now we get this little activation of the whole core, upper body, lower core body, center of the body all engaged. So now push your heel, drag your heels down, push your heel of your hands into your thighs, create a little scoop of the tailbone so the low belly engages. Everything should feel active right now. Hold this for 5 breaths, inhaling through the nose. Exhale. Let's even add a forceful exhalation to get the abdominals engaging more by going shh. Inhale through the nose. Keep the contraction. Don't lose it. And then shh. Three more breaths. Feel the hamstrings and the glutes. Feel the shoulder blades and feel the core. And then release. Let the low back flatten. Let the arms relax. Just fall into the support of your entire back on the floor. Let go of any efforting. Rest into the external support. And then we'll do that 2 more times, harnessing that core strength. So liberating the low back by engaging that anterior internal stability of the body. Push the heels into the wall, just a little pull down to turn on the backs of the legs. Press the heel of your hands into the knees by pushing the shoulder blades down towards the hips. Tuck the tailbone to engage the low belly. It's like somebody's pulling your hips up, like someone's pulling your pants down from the back pockets of your pants. Get a little scoop in that low back. Now 5 breaths. Inhaling, exhale, shh. Shh. Holding that contraction the whole time. Shh. 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 And then releasing all the way. Feeling the support beneath you, letting go of any efforting. Surrendering back to the external support, feeling the low back sink into the floor. And then we'll do it one more time, harnessing that internal strength of the abdominals to support the entire low back. So the low back's not working, but you're getting internal strength from this internal suspension system. So press the heels down, push the hands away, feel the tailbone tuck. 5 breaths, each breath progressively ramping up so that you really feel the entire body working and core stabilizing. Shh. 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 And release completely. Maybe you hug your knees to your chest, pressing the low back into the floor, even rocking side to side. If you'd like, and no happy baby, maybe even do a little rocking happy baby, cultivating a sense of gratitude and joy for our bodies. Grateful for this practice and the ability to move freely. Staying here as long as you need, and as you're ready, coming back to sitting. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please let me know if you have any questions.